Warner Brothers cartoons were great when they were made, and they're great now. These films are masterpieces of American cinema.
They're incredibly stylish and witty. The wit is razor sharp on these cartoons.
Hey, you got a nickel? Hello, operator, operator!
They were made for adult audiences, to be shown in theaters along with adult feature films.
These are classic comedies, these are classic films, and they shouldn't be forgotten. You know, the kids of yesterday have now grown up, and in retrospect, when we look at them now, we see how great they are.
Bricka, firecrackers, this boom, bah! Bugs Bunny, rah, rah, rah! Bricka,
From the moment DVD started, it was an initiative within Warner Brothers to bring the Looney Tunes to DVD.
I think these shorts are key to Warner Brothers' identity. You think of Warner Brothers, you think of Bugs Bunny, you think of the animated characters, and they're so much a form of our identity as a studio that they deserve first-rate treatment.
Tonight, what heights will hit? On with the show, this is it.
One of the interesting things that comes up in discussion of film preservation is, well, what do you preserve? The answer is you preserve everything.
There's a complex meter that we use at the Warner Brothers studio. We screen each one of the cartoons and we decide which ones makes us laugh the most. The meter records that laughter, and then oh, we don't really have that? I thought we did.
I like him. He's silly.
The clarity of DVD provides us an ability to see these films in a way with such crisp picture and sound that was not possible except maybe when they were originally released, and maybe they weren't even that clear when they were first released because of the advance of technology.
Our premise is always to go back to the original material. That's the most important thing you can do.
All of our restoration starts with a comprehensive search for film elements throughout the world.
When you've got over 1,000 Looney Tunes, it's an enormous process.
Now, you lop-eared polecat, try and get out of this one!
Warner Brothers decided in the late 1940s that they would abet their release schedule of cartoons by re-releasing older cartoons that were more than 7 years old. They did so under what they called the Blue Ribbon series to distinguish them from the new cartoons. And Jack Warner decided that they could save a little money by shortening the amount of footage in the cartoons by cutting out the original title sequences and putting in a single card.
Rick here did quite a lot of work trying to find the original openings of the cartoons. Quite a number of them, the openings were changed for reissue, and the credits for the directors and the animators deleted.
Those are obviously very integral elements in the cartoons, and all of us who work on that material want very much for the people who created this fantastic material to be credited for it.
I'm giving you 1 second to draw a gun.
How's that, Chunky?
These changes were made right into the original negatives.
Buffering, buckasass.
Not thinking that there was any reason to save it, and not realizing that there'd be people like Jerry and myself and dozens and dozens of others who would be outraged that the cartoons were tampered with.
What happened?
These films were created before color negative existed. A lot of people don't understand that there's a great company called Technicolor that developed a process where, using black and white film, they would record the values of red, green, and blue on 3 separate strips of film, and then take those values of gray and create a color print for the screen.
One of the really exciting things about this mastering program that we're on right now is the use of the new digital registration process.
That's where we're really making a lot of progress now, where we can access an original camera negative in its separate black and white records, and we can scan them in at full film resolution, so you don't have the generation loss of printing down subsequent generations or combining them together in a photochemical process. You literally are seeing the original camera negative digitally combined.
Over time, you'll have these yellow cyan and magenta or red, green, blue records that overlay, but with age they get deformed. So one side is in registration, but the other side isn't. What's so wonderful about this software is it literally warps the frame back into position so all three records overlay each other just perfectly, which photochemically or mechanically you can never do in a film lab. But in the digital world, we are literally able to warp these images back into their correct shape. And as often as we can, we try to reference dye transfer prints from the era, so we're getting the right color correction and contrast, and that we're putting exactly in there what was originally intended by the animator and the filmmaker.
Here we are in the color correction session. This is where the actual decisions are made in establishing the characteristics of the image. And we do have a lot of latitude in that regard. So here we might say, well, Bugs is starting to look a little bit red, Mike. So let's try to pull Bugs a little bit cooler towards a little bit more of a gray. And you get to the interesting question of Bugs' ears. Can we isolate his ears, Mike, and then just show that you do have the latitude? You can actually isolate a very specific part of the frame and manipulate the color just within that window.
One of the interesting things is cell animation has something involved in it that brings inherent dust that was photographed on the original cells. And now the picture is so clear that people actually think that, well, why aren't these cartoons restored? There's dirt on them. Well, there's not dirt on the film negatives because our people take care of getting rid of that dirt. That dirt was photographed there. And we don't want to go in with a computer and mess with what was originally photographed. When we restore and preserve, we restore, we don't alter.
Shoulder. It bothers me.
And I know I'm speaking for millions and millions of people of our generation that grew up watching these films in faded red prints with lines and scratches and splices and sometimes gags cut out for whatever reason.
We remember them, they're burned in our minds, and it's like we were watching them through a dirty window, like a dirty car window, and the window's now clean, and we can actually see what's going on.
I'm working on a cartoon called Elmer's Candid Camera, and I'm trying to fix the dirt and damage. This is an example here of an emulsion stain. I draw a box around it, and it gets rid of it by drawing from the frames before and after and finding the best match.
Oh, there you are. Say, you wouldn't consider taking a picture of a rabbit, would you?
Not only do we restore the picture, but we restore the sound in terms of getting rid of pops and clicks and cleaning up the sound so that DVD gives you this embracing, bold, deep, rich soundtrack that we didn't experience watching these cartoons on television in the 60s.
The original soundtracks for these features were optically based, so what we do is we take the original camera negative, the optical soundtrack negative, and we make soundtrack prints of those.
And then it goes through a very exhaustive sonic process. And exhaustive meaning you sit there for this entire cartoon and you listen with a very keen ear to any anomalies that were created over the years because of dirt or because of an issue in the recording process that you can now clean up.
I'm a king for
You're putting all this effort into something that you know is absolutely worth the effort. There's no like wondering, gee, will there be an audience for this when you're done? No, there's already an audience waiting to see this newly realized version of these classic cartoons.
People are now gathering people together in their homes to watch them on DVD. That is the goal, eventually, to bring all the cartoons from the beginning to the end to everyone. And it's just a matter of the time, the patience, the effort, and the energy.
Yeah.